Geoff Schwartz joins us now. Jeff, do you know today was tax day? I just realized that, we bumped back tax day to July 15th now. So sorry for reminding everybody out there.
I did know because I filed an extension for some reason. I don't know why. I had everything done, but we filed an extension for some reason.
So you had 3 extra months and you still filed an extension?
I was done. My CPA's filed an extension.
Yeah,
I don't know. I thought I did everything. I don't know. I know how much I owe.
Yeah. Every year we get an extension too, and I don't end up officially filing until October.
Same here.
I don't even understand. Like, I used to be, if you're just a regular employee, your taxes really aren't that complicated. I got so many different moving parts now, I never have any clue what's going on when it comes to my taxes. But
that's why we always file extension, because I just get like a random 1099 to show up in like July. And you're like,
yeah, right.
I didn't file this one.
All right, let's dive into the NFL. What's Dak Prescott worth? Like when you actually look at the marketplace, let's pretend, first question, that he is an unrestricted free agent. What would a team or teams be willing to bid for his services?
See, this is always a tough discussion because there's a difference, in my opinion, between what the market will pay you. I mean, look, everyone will say you're worth what the market will pay you and what he actually should get, right? If you're looking at what he actually should get, probably around $32 million is probably about. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, your boy's making. By the way, Titans fans are absolutely insane. I just got to point that out. You guys, out of all fan bases I've dealt with, the Titans fans are absolutely insane.
Well, I think it's probably, let me say this, you probably have more Titans fans in your audience because of me, right? Because
that doesn't make it any better.
No, I'm just saying they're probably a higher percentage of the people that follow you. Like, I would say if I were ranking fans of teams that follow me, because I'm from Nashville, I'm overpopulated in, the University of Tennessee and the Tennessee Titans. And then, we have a national show that's doing wildly well now, but I would be interested in seeing what the data is of what fans follow me. But because you do this show a lot, you also would overlap with some of those same people. So, but leave picking on the Titans aside. Let's go back to the primary question here. So what's Dak worth?
Well, so Tannehill's making like $30 million a year, right? He's got a 3-year deal for $91. Cousins is making a little over $30. I mean, I feel like over $30 million is probably about right. And that's what the offer stands right now. It's like $33 million. The question always becomes, is Dak a guy that can win you a Super Bowl? Right? I'm not quite sure we know that yet, because he hasn't been in the playoffs, and when he has, they've been okay. But that's about where you're going to have to pay him. It's about $30 million a year. I mean, is he worth that much? I don't know, but that's what the market says he's going to be. It's about $30 million a year. Now, on the open market, it's different. And this is the thing that's interesting about this, because we've been looking to next year. How many teams are really going to need quarterbacks next year? I mean, look, the Patriots maybe might need a quarterback, and maybe that's Jacksonville. But so that's it. Jacksonville, by the way, could stink and just draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, right? So how many teams are really going to be out there looking to pay Dak Prescott, especially if the Cowboys go 9-7 and win one playoff game? Who's going to pay him all this money? So I think the market's about $30 million a year. And the Cowboys are offering him that much right now. So he's not going to do it, obviously. I mean, I've said since February he's not going to do this deal, and Cowboys fans told me I was an idiot and told me I was stupid and all that stuff, and I'm going to end up being right again. It just didn't feel like this was ever coming together because they've had time to do it. We see all the time when teams want to get a deal done, they get a deal done with their quarterback, right? The Cowboys deal is always that they want this extra year. They want this fifth year. They always want in their contract, and for the most part, they do it. They have the most players, I think, under contract for 6-year deals in the NFL. They're going to have 6 guys on like 6-year deals. That's what they've always done. I mean, Tyron Smith, the tackle, signed a 10-year deal. He's a Hall of Famer. He's severely underpaid, and this is what they've always done. And most of the time, when it's time to make a compromise, you do it for your quarterback, and they don't want to do it. And we see other teams do it all the time. The Chiefs just gave Pat Mahomes $500 million. You make it happen if you want to make it work. And I don't think the Cowboys are totally sold on Dak Prescott. And the last thing about why I don't think they're sold on him, and this is something that people they think I'm harping on this, and it's silly, but it's completely true. Mike McCarthy, the new coach, did not talk to Dak Prescott for over a week after getting the job. That's absolutely crazy to me. Like, that should have been your first call, because if you had talked to Jerry Jones about what your plans are for the team, Dak Prescott was probably 95% of your conversation. And then how do you not, he said he was too busy. That's BS, man. Matt Rule, I'm in Charlotte. He called Cam the day he was hired, and everyone knew Cam wasn't going to be here. Like, you call your quarterback, and the fact that he didn't do it strikes me as something that's really interesting about the dynamic at play here. I just don't think the Cowboys are completely sold on Dak, and Dak's going to test the market next year and see what happens.
It is interesting. And so if he tests the market, that's going to be a great sort of situation. So you don't think the Cowboys will franchise tag him 2 years in a row?
I mean, they could, but then you're in a Cousins situation. I just don't know. I guess the idea is, he plays this year, and he plays really well, and you're like, okay, maybe we'll do a long-term deal now, right? He's proven to us he can do it, or he doesn't play well, and you just let him go. I don't know why you would franchise him for a second year, because this is a prove-it year for him, brand new coach, and maybe you say, look, last year was kind of weird, right? There was no off season, players got into camp late. It was a very weird year. We'll just wait one more year to decide on Dak, but that's not really a way to build a team. I mean, it's just you can't build a team with your quarterback always on a franchise tag. And this is something that I think people don't get. The franchise tag is not terribly great for teams and quarterbacks, because you want to have cost certainty, and that's what the Chiefs have now with Pat Mahomes. You want to know what the highest guy on your team is going to make for years, so you can build your salary cap and your roster around that number. And it's not good for the Cowboys to not know what Dak's going to make next year, the year after that, and kind of be in limbo with the best, the most important player, I should say, in your franchise. So a franchise tag for a quarterback is not something the team really wants to do.
So it is interesting as you look at Dak going forward. To me, this, assuming again, for people out there just waking up, the 4 o'clock Eastern you have until the franchise tag becomes official. When you look at Dak going forward, would you bet on him being the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback next year or not? Like, how would you set the odds?
I would not.
You would not?
I would not. No. I probably would get plus money for that. But I just think that, again, I go back to the Redskins, and I can't even say that now, right? The Washington football team, and I'm going to make that mistake 1,000 times. The Washington football team, and what if there was no mascot this year, by the way? Just they just were like the Washington football team. It's possible. I mean, it's a quick rebrand before the season. I don't know if you can have it ready in time. Washington and Cousins situation. I mean, they both kind of just never met in the middle. And Cousins wanted a certain deal, and the Redskins, Washington wasn't going to meet it, and they just never made it work. And it feels like that's what the Cowboys and Dak are going to do. It's just kind of, they like each other enough, but not enough to commit long term.
Okay, another team dealing with an interesting franchise tag decision that is reportedly going to allow their player to play it out on the franchise. You were just going after them a little bit earlier. The Titans. The Titans are going to pay Derrick Henry $10.7 million, I believe is the number this year. And then he would theoretically be an unrestricted free agent in the offseason. How does this situation play itself out? Who is in a better spot here, Titans or Derrick Henry?
Well, the Titans are, because they can find a running back for much cheaper that can give you 85%, 90% of production that Derrick Henry had. We keep seeing these numbers come out all the time of guys that are undrafted, 7th-round picks, putting up just the production that a first-round pick can do. And I get it that it's unfair to running backs. I'm an offensive lineman. I love running backs. I would love to block for Derrick Henry. But if you're building a team, it makes no sense to pay those guys all that money. The Titans are – I mean, look, I would have franchised Tannehill and let Henry walk, but, they signed Tannehill. At least they didn't sign Henry to a long-term deal. And, you play this year, you hope you win a Super Bowl, and then you just let him go and you find someone else in the draft next year. I mean, it's not that complicated. The data has shown that paying running backs is a complete disaster. It does not help you win, and you can get the production you need from that position from a 7th-round draft pick, undrafted guy, or 3rd-round draft pick. I mean, name someone else to do it. Look at their deals. Zeke Elliott just got paid. Cowboys didn't make the playoffs last year. Todd Gurley got paid. How's that working out? David Johnson got paid, got traded. And Christian McCaffrey got paid, and last season all his best games were in blowouts. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, his receiving numbers." Well, look at him. He had 200-yard receiving games. The Panthers scored like 6 and 9 points in those games. I mean, congrats on getting a lot of yards. It didn't help you win the game. So that position, for whatever reason, is just really undervalued. And there's no reason to pay those guys all that money. So the Titans are in a great spot. Just franchise him this year, see what happens, and let him go.
Will somebody else pay Derrick Henry? We were just talking about Dak if he hit the open market. What if Derrick Henry were on the open market right now? Would he make at most about what he's making this year?
There's always teams. I mean, the Houston Texans seem to not know what they're doing. I mean, they'll pay a running back. Who cares? But, I mean, Le'Veon Bell got paid. But as analytics kind of creeps more into front offices, I'm not sure that we're going to see these become and I think next year too is a big year. Like Dalvin Cook's a free agent.
It's a great running back year.
It's a great running back year. So I don't know what team is going to really want to spend that $15 million a year on a running back, especially with the cap situation, which is probably not going to be great next season. They're probably going to have to borrow from the future to make sure the cap is probably flat for next season. It's probably my best guess. I don't think it will go down that much. It won't go up, and they'll just borrow from the future to get it to be flat. Or you don't want to spend,
And what you're talking about there, for people out there who are not familiar, the overall NFL revenues, because crowds are not going to be either allowed at all or anywhere near what they have been in normal years, the overall NFL revenue is going to go down. And since players and owners share, the idea is we're going to limit future seasons of cap numbers to make up for the money that isn't going to come in this year, right? Yeah. For people out there who don't understand that.
And you have a 10-year labor deal, so you can borrow from the future to make. I can't imagine what would happen if there wasn't a CBA deal done. I mean, the NFL
that's a great point.
Be a complete wreck right now. So, with a cap being flat, do you really want to pay a running back next year all that money? I get it if the cap was still rising 9% or 10%, like it's been every year, but even it's just not. There's no way it's going to go up this year. I mean, I don't know if we'll get a full 16 games. I feel really confident that we're going to start the season on time. I know there's posturing right now between both sides as far as kind of when camp's going to start, how it's going to work. But both sides want to play. I mean,
when do you think camp will start?
I think it'll be July 28th. I think they'll be in on time. Look, the NFL has been a league that gets things done at the deadline all the time, right? I mean, it just feels like every time there's some sort of issue, it's like, boom, by the deadline, it gets figured out. Because, look, the truth is players want to play, all right? Players understand the risks. There might be guys that have autoimmune issues that don't play. I get that. But we have short careers. We don't get paid if we don't play. I don't think we get paid if we don't play. The owners want to make money too. They're just as greedy as we are, maybe more greedy. And that's why I think both sides will make it work, because in the end they both want to play. And obviously some of the issues right now are health and safety and testing and kind of how we kind of go about making sure everyone stays as healthy as possible. So I think they will play. It's a much easier it's much easier to get them going than college football, which I just think it's I don't know, college football. I mean, the conference only schedule is a great way to do this in my opinion, especially out west. I think in the South, the ACC and SEC should probably join together and kind of form their own little conference this year. That makes a lot of sense to me because they're so regionally close. I mean, it seems silly that South Carolina and Clemson can't play each other, but South Carolina could play like Missouri, right? It just seems kind of odd that. So I think the ACC and SEC will join together. The Big 12 will be on their own. The Big 10 and Pac-12 will be on their own, and we'll get a season in. It might just be disjointed.
Last question for you: how many NFL? Like, I'm kind of stunned in a good way in Dak Prescott's defense. The guy is saying no to $100 million guaranteed, right? Like, we're talking about the fact that he's going to be he's going to be franchise tagged, but that's because he's turning down $100 million guaranteed. Last question for you. Is this the first time ever that a player is turning down $100 million in NFL history? It's got to be, right?
Yeah, probably. But here's the thing with a lot of these quarterbacks now, Clay, is the endorsement money. He's at Campbell Soup.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has speaking fees. I mean, he's probably making millions of dollars off the field.
Yeah.
So to him, he's like, look, I'll make 31 this year. The franchise tag is like 37 next year. So that's $70 million. I'm already making $5-10 million off the field. Like, I don't need to sign a deal that I don't want now. I'll just let it ride. I'm in a position I'm young. I have not been hurt in my career. He's missed a game because of injury yet. I have a good offensive line. I'm probably not going to get hurt this year. Just ride with it. And so his agent, by the way, is really good at that. I think his agent's one of the toughest to negotiate with, at least according to reports. So, yeah, probably first guy ever to turn down that money, but it makes sense for him because he's in Dallas and he has endorsements already, and good for him. I mean, look, I root for every player I root for every human to get as much money as they
Join
can.
the club.
Because that's the way it's interesting that people kind of root against it. I don't really get it. I root for every human to get paid. Teachers, nurse. My wife's a nurse. She's underpaid. I root for her to make more money.
I always say this. I want Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith and Colin Cowherd and the guys that are older than me and make more money now. I want them to make as much money as possible because I want them to set the bar as high as they can possibly set it because that's where I want to aspire to be too. And if you're an NFL quarterback or an NFL player, or like you said, it doesn't really matter what your profession is, at least if you're in a public market setting, you should want your competitors to make as much money as possible. Good stuff as always,
Exactly.
Geoff Schwartz.
Take care, bud.